with no deal in sight between the House, Senate and White House to pay the nation's bills after midnight on September 30th. Much of the federal government is set to run out of money 10 days from now, and large functions of the federal world could shut down October 1st. What might this mean for you, your family, and for the people who keep the government running day to day, even as Democrats and Republicans in Congress bicker over whether to stop funding President Obama's healthcare law and other fiscal issues they cannot seem to resolve? Home greater than collections greater than federal government wondering about a government shutdown? First thing to know, it all won't disappear. By Lisa Rain and Eric Yoder, September 20, 2013. With no deal in sight between the House, Senate and White House to pay the nation's bills after midnight on September 30th, much of the federal government is set to run out of money 10 days from now, and large functions of the federal world could shut down October 1st. What might this mean for you, your family, and for the people who keep the government running day to day, even as Democrats and Republicans in Congress bicker over whether to stop funding President Obama's healthcare law and other fiscal issues they cannot seem to resolve? The latest updates on the battle over text-to-speech by Copito's eyes. For Obamacare, here are some basics of what a government shutdown might look like. 1. What got us to this point, and who's at fault if the government closes? As with most things in Washington, naming who's at fault would likely depend on your political persuasion. Under a budget law passed 39 years ago, the House and Senate must approve 12 appropriations bills funding the federal government by September 30th, the last day of the fiscal year. It almost never happens. In the past 17 years, in 10 of which Congress was controlled by Republicans, 4 by Democrats, and 2 with mixed leadership in the chambers, Congress did not meet its statutory deadline for approving the spending bills. This year's confrontation is over the conservative-Republican effort to defund the Affordable Care Act. On Friday, the House approved a stopgap bill to fund the government that would strip all funding for the law, large parts of which are set to take effect October 1st. The bill is considered to have no chance of passage in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Text-to-speech by Copito's eyes. 2. Is the government making preparations to close October 1st? Yes. The Obama administration told agencies this week to begin planning for a partial shutdown. A memo issued to agencies said that prudent management requires that agencies be prepared for the possibility of a lapse. Federal managers must review which of their employees would be essential and required to come to work, and which would be non-essential and sent home during a shutdown. Agencies are notifying their employees to expect some chaos. On Thursday, for example, State Department Undersecretary for Management Patrick F. Kennedy issued a memo making clear that a lapse in funding to keep the government running could mean that a number of employees may be temporarily furloughed. Text-to-speech by Copito's eyes. 3. Does the entire government close? Will anyone patrol the borders? Will services disappear and benefits such as Social Security checks stop? What about services to veterans? Can I still see the panda cub at the National Zoo? In any shutdown, the government does not stop functioning completely. By law, certain agencies must be allowed to operate with salaried employees. According to the Office of Management and Budget, those are employees who, provide for national security, including the conduct of foreign relations essential to the national security or the safety of life and property, provide for benefit payments and the performance of obligations under no year or multi-year contract or other funds remaining available for those purposes, conduct essential activities to the extent that they protect life and property. Managers would still have to decide how the work is executed, such as who stays on the job and who doesn't. So while the panda cub and her zoo mates will get fed, the zoo may not be open to visitors. The borders would still be patrolled. Veterans in hospitals would still receive care. Government operations not directly paid for by the Treasury, the largest of which is the U.S. Postal Service, also would continue. In a similar shutdown threat in 2011, The government said that of the roughly 2.1 million non-postal federal employees, all but about 800,000 would be kept on the job. 4. What happens to Americans who are expecting checks for Social Security and other benefits? These entitlement programs are considered mandatory spending, although payments could slow down if fewer federal employees must handle the work. In the shutdowns in 1995 and 1996, military veterans saw some health and financial services delayed. However, some services for veterans are funded by budgets that cover multiple years, which means the Treasury would have to pay for them. 5. Would federal workers and contractors be paid? According to OMB's missive this week, employees who stayed on the job would not get a paycheck at first, but they would be entitled to retroactive pay once the government is running again. It gets murkier for non-essential employees. They would have to come to the office on the first day of a shutdown for up to half a day to secure files, fill out time and attendance forms, and otherwise make preparations to preserve their work.